Hi guys, I'm Victoria Beale and I have the delight and pleasure and honour of introducing you to Arran Stewart, who is CVO of Job.com. Arran, lovely to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, and it's great to see you again, Vicky, as well. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Absolutely, pleasure is all mine. Arran, we haven't spoken for some time, but your story is pretty amazing, to be honest. We are very proud here in the UK of you and what you've achieved. Let's just start from the beginning, shall we? How did it start for Arran? Where have you come from?
Yeah, so those that don't know me, I'm not sure if anyone's watching it, you do, but I was born and raised in Luton Town, and my life has had some various ups and downs. I guess a mild checkered past, especially with my youth. But it's kind of the nature of the beast, I guess, in some respects. Growing up in Luton, I started my journey started at Purley Nursery in Marsh Farm, which anybody knows Marsh Farm in Luton is probably not the best place to start your journey. I was fortunate enough, growing up, that I was blessed with a strong mind, a thirst and a passion for like education. I loved learning, but also I was just surrounded by, I guess, an environment that maybe wasn't so conducive towards positive behaviour, and that kind of led me. When I'd actually come out of university, many of my friends had chosen various different paths. A lot of them were paths that had led them to prison. In 2014, my best friend Noel died, because of, very poor lifestyle choices, sadly, in the end. But I chose a life to try and go towards business, and which was really hard because when you start at the point of zero times zero is zero. And so kind of that first initial move into, I've always worked in the recruitment industry and the recruitment technology space, but prime example was when I started my journey in the business side was, I was on job seekers allowance, trying to fund my life because I hadn't earned any money. And I had a job before, but I had all my cars repossessed and I was in huge amounts of debt. And then to top it all off, like example was my house was burgled at gunpoint and I was nearly murdered in my house in Luton. And it made a 2-page spread in the newspapers. So yeah, the journey began rocky. That's the best way to describe it. But I used all of the experiences through my childhood and I guess being a young adult as fuel to drive me forward towards success. And I actually am really grateful for some of the negative stuff that happened in the past, because you never truly appreciate the sweet taste of success until you've tasted the pain, Mm-hmm. So that'll be where it started.
Right. So, and you went into the recruitment industry, and let's focus on that now to where you are now.
Yeah. So I got a job at S3, which owned the IT job board. Alexander Farrell, another guy called Ray Duggan. So Alexander was lovely. She's a lovely woman. She's a great woman to this day. And I was the most arrogant such and such, I won't swear, that joined IT job board. And Alexander, if you watch this, I apologise again to you. And I was there for 2 weeks and thought I knew everything about how to do a job board. And I realised how much money they were making. I was looking at the deal board. I'm thinking, I'm sitting here smashing out 100 phone calls a day, earning £17,000 a year to work in central London on Tottenham Court Road. And I'm like, and I'm paying for my train ticket, paying for my travel. I'm thinking, I'm literally, I can't afford this. So I just decided, I'm going to go off and start my own job board. And so I did. I quit. I quit IT job board almost immediately. Went away thinking I knew everything, and I set up a job board called Jobs from Blue, and it was a massive failure, as you'd expect after 2 weeks of just learning everything about an industry. But what I did do over those sort of like initial sort of 18 months of Jobs from Blue was, it was a baptism of fire of learning, because my arrogance and I guess I do have a tenacity for survival in a sense of, wow, I'm going to like ruin my life here because I've gone in. This was just before the recession. So I've gone in and I've managed to secure myself a business loan. I've got funding from the Marsh Farm Community Development Trust in Luton, and a number of other things, because I was in an economically, deprived area. They sort of threw money at me, also secured it against me. And lo and behold, I didn't know you had to make money out of this platform. I just thought we could build a website. And but I did learn everything about the industry very, very quickly. And then I ended up developing a piece of technology called iResourcer. And that was when the change happened. So because this iResourcer system, if anyone's in the industry, was a very low technology version of something like Broadbean. Broadbean was like supreme, but iResourcer worked and it could multi-post on multiple websites. But then we did media buying too. So we used to buy the media on Total Jobs, Job Sites, all CV Libraries, all of those guys. And it started to get traction. I remember I did the first sale with it because it was plugged into JobGate. I did the first sale with it and I made £29. And I was like, I just made £29. I actually checked the check. It's somewhere in this house too because I never cashed it.
Oh, that's really good.
And then it started to mount up. And then I attracted the attention of Hamilton Bradshaw, which was James Caan.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes.
And that's when my life changed. So that's when everything then started to fall into place. And, an iResourcer, grew. It went from me working in my living room with my 3-month-old baby, Caitlin, at the time, in a 1-bedroom apartment in Luton that had been burgled 6 times that year alone. And it was just the nature of the beast, right? Because I lived in the most rubbish area ever. And it was, and then the journey sort of that continued. And, iResourcer exited into Hamilton Bradshaw Technology. And then because I'd got the backing of something like HB and the kind of name with James Caan and all the other people that sort of floated around with that, I started to get some credibility.
Yeah.
It was credibility because I obviously knew something, because otherwise, you wouldn't have these people kind of gravitating around me.
It was a rubber stamp, wasn't it?
It was, do you know what, Vicky? It really was a rubber stamp. It was a rubber stamp for a young man who came from nowhere. Who up until that point had kind of blagged his way through. And you go from blagging to being legit. I've noticed the longer you blag, the more you suddenly become credible because you've been blagging so long, you know what you're talking about. I
think they say you fake it till you make it.
Till you make it, yeah. And I think that's a really honest statement, right? You fake it till you make it. And you kind of roll with the punches. And and then that sort of led me then to exiting iResourcer and then sort of kind of leading me to the path that's brought me to job.com now, which was I set up My Job Matcher, started My Job Matcher in November 2011 with my business partners and dear friends Chris Smith and Paul Sloyne, and that was one of those penny drop moments where we're statistically, this is back then, and I'd done this research with HB, with Hamilton Bradshaw, should I say. An average job seeker would spend 7 hours a week looking for work online and would register with 21 separate platforms. And I was like, blimey, it's a job looking for a job. I was like, goodness. I was like, how can we utilize artificial intelligence? Because, I love technology.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. Yes. So, I grew up in technology. Technology is just part of my blood. And I always saw the technology industry as my future. And then as the years went by, not only did a passion in something turned into a profession and an expertise, because now I'd be classed as, I guess, a technology evangelist in the industry. And I'll probably get onto that a bit later about where I am now. But we combined AI with aggregation, raised seed funding, and My Job Matcher just it just came out like a bat of hell. We did arbitrage, but we had 7.2 million people registered to use the platform, and it was just making money. And I was like, wow. And it was a massive leap forward again. It's kind of another step, another layer towards success. So, and that was the beginning of, I guess, the journey, and that kind of brings me to job.com where I am now. So,
and that's the interesting point, because all of this stuff that you did was actually UK based, but you're now in Austin, Texas.
Yes,
so just tell us how that happened.
So we grew My Job Matcher for 3 years. So from 2012 to 2015. And we reached a point where we were like, we need institutional money to go and take over the world, as you so speak. Every entrepreneur has this ambition of world domination. We're not nowhere near that yet, but we still have the ambition. And so we started chasing down, trying to raise money. And I'm sure people out there that have tried to go and actually raise, institutional cash will know that that's the hardest freaking thing to do on the planet outside of exiting in the business. So we spent about 12 months trying to raise money, and it was disheartening, should I say, because you had so many very smart bankers tell you no. And it made you start to question whether or not we actually had a good business model.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, sort of end of 16, a group called Falcon Capital joined us and invested in what was My Job Matcher at the time.
Yep.
And the use of those funds was to expand into America. So the American market for us was 7 times the size. So it presented a much bigger opportunity of growth with the same level of effort. It's like, you're going to go in, give it 100%. Why not give it 100% in an arena that's 7 times the size? Because you're going to capture hopefully 7 times more revenue. And that is definitely the case that we've seen. Okay. But when we raised the money, we actually thought, right, do we buy or build? And we were like, let's go and buy. So we bought a couple of businesses called Active Hire, Zillion Resumes in March 2017. And they were a small business, but they're profitable, great proprietary technology, 10 million registered job seeker profiles. And it was a great segue into the US market. And when the deal completed, it was like, we all sort of looked around each other at the board and it was like, someone needs to go to America. And I was like, I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go. Now, that was much easier said than done. A couple of things that, I'd had a background that did play a part in being a little bit more complex getting into the US, sadly, because of my youth. So, you have to be a very, very well-behaved citizen to come to the US, rightly so. And as a grown man and as a family man, I've always been a good person. But when I was young, I was misguided and I've made a few mistakes, which I had to rationalize to the American embassy.
I think everyone, 98%, there's no one I've ever met that hasn't ever made mistakes with their kids. Some people get found out and some people don't.
Yeah, and I made mistakes as a teenager, as a late teenager. But again, things had to go through. So that was the first bit. So it took a year to get a visa, which should have taken about 3 months.
Wow.
A lot of lawyers involved in order to just rationalise and prove, that everything was kosher. And thankfully it is. Here I am. We're all good. I've got the rubber stamp again, thank God. But the other part, and then probably the most difficult part, was my eldest daughter, Caitlin. Her mother and I were very young when we had her. She was born in September 2009, and she was just my world. She still is my world too, with all my kids. I have 5 kids. Very lucky. They're my greatest achievement, and my wife. But I had to say goodbye to her, which was, it makes me feel a bit emotional about it now. I had to say goodbye to her at that time, which was the hardest thing in my career that I've ever had to do, because she was so understanding, because I told her, that I was on this, big mission with my job, and she was so proud of me. She's such an intelligent young girl. She's like, Dad, you can do it. I believe in you. But I said bye to her, and that was the hardest thing about making that transition to America. But we came here, and when I got here in June 2017. We had Active Hire in resumes, and then we were offered this opportunity. And this is where I think success comes, is opportunity preparation with a pinch of luck. We had this opportunity of a data deal with job.com in the US. I was like, yeah, sure. Job.com, 50 million registered job seeker profiles, huge platform. It's job.com. I was like, can you even imagine how much the URLs were, let alone the rest of the business?
Yeah.
So, and we went to see Brian Alden at the time, who was the owner. And it quickly transpired that he wasn't looking to a data deal. He was looking to sell his business.
Wow.
And we sort of all looked around the table with each other, and we went back to our funders, Falcon Capital. And thankfully for Falcon Capital, because we were like, we can't afford it. Okay, we can't afford it. And Falcon's like, yes, you can. And we're like, can we? They're like, yes, you can. It was. And so first meeting was in June, and by September 2017, we owned job.com.
Wow.
And that was just a massive move for the business. And it was just this huge crystallization of coming to the US. I'd made the right choice for my family, because at the time, my wife and I, we had 2 children between us, Arran and Verity. And it was a huge upheaval for my wife. She's been a rock for me. She's amazing. She's been a huge, everything helped towards the success of this journey. And she's left behind her family, her friends, everything for me on the pursuit of this journey. And to have such a monumental success so fast hitting the US was just this brilliant crystallization that we'd at least made the right choice, right?
Yeah.
And because it wasn't easy, because when we moved here as well, like you start from scratch with like credit histories and everything. So like we were like, I couldn't even open a bank account at first. It was ridiculous because you need a social security number. So like everything was just to the power of like 1,000 more complicated and hard, because you're trying to figure out how to just like, when's bin day? Do we pay council tax? How do you get the light switches to work? When's the electric go on? Everything is different.
Yeah.
How they do it is different. And you're learning that on the fly whilst trying to run a business flat out with a wife with 2 young kids. And also my eldest daughter, I was flying back and forth to the UK to get her, to bring her here for every school holiday, even half terms. I flew 132,000 miles in the first year just picking her up.
Oh, wow.
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I was doing it 10 times a year just to pick her up because I didn't want to lose her and the relationship. So because I loved her so much, it was such a big part of the motivation. And then sort of fast track, not even fast track, just continuing to like build and grow job.com. We focused our efforts on, we're a data-driven digital staffing agency. So we do the full recruitment stuff now, not just clicks or traffic generation. It's the full recruitment service. And we utilize artificial intelligence and blockchain technology to do so, all proprietary technology that we've built. And, and today, we've had some real ups and downs during those years. 2018 was a very tough year for us with the blockchain ICO that failed for us.
Yes.
We've had a fair share of setbacks and failure. 2019, government shut down, slowed down a raise that we were doing because the SEC was on basically kind of shut down while the government was shut down. And then lo and behold, we hit 2020 and it's COVID. But we had the best year ever this year.
Really?
We had the best year ever this year. We'll close. We would have done 5 acquisitions this year. Now we were meant to have done them all at the end of 19 into 20. They got delayed in the end because of due diligence, because of COVID, but now they're all finishing at the end of this year. First acquisition was completed in August 2020 called High Vergence. Just to give you a flavour, like High Vergence was doing 10.4 million in revenue, 1.5 million EBITDA, so we acquired them. And then the other businesses, will be sort of around 50 or 60 million in acquisition revenue that we've got coming over the line. And, it's an amazing story. And now we've got a lot of attention. Yeah, it is an amazing story. Like in a sense of, when I think back, Vicky, and I cast my mind back 15 years ago, okay, when I was 20, right, and I think about now, I'm going to be 36 in January, and I've got a beautiful wife, 5 beautiful, healthy children. I've got a dog called Bernie and a cat called Coco. Live in America. Got a beautiful house here, building a beautiful house, which will be finished at the end of this month. The business it's had challenges, but nonetheless, we have continue to strive forward. Even just little things like last year, I lived the dream and bought myself a Ferrari,
Good for you.
Just all the things that a boy from Luton dreamt about.
Yeah.
But would never really have especially some of the choices that I made maybe wouldn't have happened that way when I was younger. So I'm very proud of what the team and the business has done. I'm very proud of the people that are around me and how they've been part of this journey, and I think we're going to keep going. I'm still very much a young man. I feel like my journey has just started.
Yeah.
For
the next phase.
Yeah. Don't tempt fate, my God. But we're all good, and I've been blessed to have some really incredible people around me in my life, that have loved me, like my best friend Lester, my best friend Noel, who's obviously not here anymore. Chris Smith, Smith, love Chris.
He's a great guy. And I'll be interviewing him next.
Yeah, listen, you should interview Chris.
Right? I will. It'd be a good one.
Amazing story. It's been a real important, Paul Sloan, my business partner, has very much been a strength and a mentor to me. He's shown me what it's like to focus, and just a ton of people. And even now, like here in Austin, I've got some fantastic friends around me. I've got, another guy, I'll say his name, so you'll probably watch it, Tony Jerome, brilliant friend, has made it so nice for my wife and I. We just feel at home here. And Bill Klebb, who's our new COO, he's just become an amazing friend. So I got some beautiful people in my life, and I'm very grateful for them. And I feel like there's this kind of positive vibe, that's driving us forward. And you know what I'm mostly passionate about, and I really am, because I know what it's like to be the other side of it. I love helping people feed their families and pay their bills. That's what job.com does, right? We help people feed their families and pay their bills. That's all we have to do. So and I can't, we just keep striving for that. So keep focusing on the execution, not the exit. The exit will come. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I mean, it's a truly amazing story. You know it yourself, and everyone watching this is going to be like, "How the hell did he do it?" So you're gonna have to bring out an autobiography or something. I think.
I'll do it as anonymous, and I'll put all the gory details in it. So
yeah, the uncut version.
Yeah, the uncut version. No, I mean, do you know what? I think, how have I done it? And these sound like just obvious things to say, right? But it really is. It's hard work. Don't give up. And I said this to you before we started recording. Don't be a victim.
No.
Don't allow life, business, or anything challenge that comes to you to allow you to be a victim, because you can either choose to let it distract you and bring you down, or you can choose it to inspire you to aspire for more. You know, and I'm not willing to quit fighting. I never will. I can't. The universe will give me more challenges from here. I might speak to you in another year's time and I've had the worst year ever. Doesn't mean I'm stopping.
No.
You know, because I still got so much goodness around me, you know, and sometimes I think people they want something so bad that the second that something gets in the way of that, it's not fair and it's all over. And it's like the only person you are going to torture with that is yourself. You know, just try and just keep soldiering through.
Well, I was going to ask you about the top tips, but I think you've actually covered it. What you've just said there.
I think I preempted it. Yeah, and
don't be a victim. That's true. I mean,
don't be a victim.
You've got to slap yourself around the face and throw some cold water on and get on with it.
Get on with it, and just be aware that other than ones that really do love you, who are always there for you, but outside of that, in the big world, nobody cares. All right, nobody cares that you've had a bad challenge. Nobody cares that it's not fair, and no one is going to make it easier for you because it isn't fair. Because you know what, it's not fair for everyone. You know, and you can look at other people and you think, oh, it's all right for them, or just focus on yourself. Have a goal. I had a dream board, right? So in 2007, I put a dream board on the wall and I put a big house. I put a picture of a Bugatti Veyron because these were the things that mattered to me at the time. I put a picture of a stack of cash. I actually put a picture of a happy family too. And it was all framed in this thing on my wall. And every time I felt like giving up, I'd look at my dream board just to remind myself why I was doing it. So my dream board's a little bit different now. My attitude and my feeling towards certain things has changed, especially money. I'm much more grateful for the love and the happiness I have with my family now more than the money. But, you know, when you're 22, you think very differently.
Of course.
Cash will solve everything, you know. And cash can solve a lot of things, right? And trust me, I would much prefer to be now where I am now than where I was years ago. But nonetheless, there are things that are more important too. And you sometimes have to recognize that you have that. You know, and you're already a rich person. The most successful person in the room is the happiest one, not the wealthiest. You know, and happiness is the true definition of success. So,
you're just coming out with the statements, aren't you? You don't even realise you're just a book of things, they call them. Honestly, I love it.
Well, I live by them. Yes. So I do live by them, and you know, I've used those statements on myself in the mirror. You know, because it's not like I haven't been weak at times, and I've gone and done the victim moment. Oh, it's not fair. I've looked myself in the mirror, and I've told myself to stop. You know, so I've had to, you know, my wife says it all the time. I talk to myself all the time. She's like, you're mad. I'm like, no, I kind of self-counsel.
Yes.
I do it all the time. So you kind of catch me kind of mumbling to myself about something because I'm sort of self-counseling myself through it. So, and it works.
And I was going to ask you about that. Did you have anyone counsel you from when you were a young age, or you just literally been a self-talker? Did you have any help with this to come out of a really grim, like almost a grim upbringing?
Different, yeah. So my upbringing, I mean, we haven't gone into that detail. I had a terrible childhood, which made me a very angry young man. But I had a teacher called Professor Tony Divey, who was a really, really good human being. And if he ever watches this, thank you. And I also I spent 4 years in cognitive behavioural therapy, to, you know, which kind of helped. So I don't know if it did or didn't sometimes, I'm not sure. So in a sense of, you know, sometimes just keep reliving bad things just allows you to stay in the past, where really you just need to put it in a box and move forward. And that doesn't work for everybody, but it worked for me. But no, and then I think that most of the good people in my life came like Leicester, Chris Smiths of the world, Paul Sloynes of the world. These were the people that helped, that brought me through.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah. And I love them to death for it.
I know you do. And I know, obviously I know Chris very well. I've never met Paul, but I've always heard really good things about him.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So hopefully I'll meet him one day. But I think, it's very important what you said. You did have that support. And I think also you're never too old or young to ask for help. And I think now there's a lot of people with issues that might want to reach out. So it's really important that they do. Because people are struggling, and sometimes it does get too much, and we're not all of the mindset where we can just look in the mirror or slap ourselves around the face. So there's a serious side to it as well. But I think you're spot on with the things that you said. So we're just going to conclude the interview, and it's been really amazing talking to you, and I'm sure we'll do another interview in the next couple of months or something, see the progression of this this Facebook of the recruitment industry, let's call it. So what are you looking for right now as a business owner, a founder? What is there anything in the business sense that you're looking for, or are you recruiting for job.com at the moment? Anyone? What does Arran need right now?
Well, I mean, we are, so for me, because we talked about this, right? Because obviously I get a lot of contacts like on LinkedIn, and I get a lot of lead gen stuff, which is just kind of mind numbing stuff. But, I'm not looking for anything specific, but if anyone's watching this and they feel like there's truly a valid reason to reach out to me, then do it. I'm not going to be that arrogant to say that I'm only interested in certain things, because you know what? Opportunity knocks all the time, and you don't want to be that arrogant that you miss the knock. So I'm happy for anyone to reach out to me about anything that's, just that they plausibly think is of mutual value, and you can be the judge of that. I can be the judge of that. But yeah, I'm not that much of an arrogant, I won't again swear. But when it's just like, only contact me for this, it's just if you've got something to talk to me about, send me a message, and I'd love to hear from you. If you would like if you're going through your own journey, especially, I have friends from Luton, especially obviously because lots of people in Luton know obviously what I've done and stuff, and I have lots of people that I grew up with reach out to me all the time just for advice, or how do I do this, or I'm challenged with this, or other people that set up their businesses, and I just kind of give them my opinion. And everything I tell you is my opinion. There is no gospel answer to anything, because every journey is different. I can just share the wisdom that I've got and my opinion on it. And that might work for you. It might not. There is no secret recipe. It's your recipe. That's it. So, but yeah, I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Oh, well,
I'll never be that arrogant. Never. Okay.
Well, I think it's amazing that your feet are well and truly on the ground still. Because a lot of people would have started to move up the clouds, but I think it's brilliant what you've said, what you've done. The UK, Luton, very proud of you, and
I'm proud of Luton.
There you go.
I still love you, Luton.
And I would say this, that let's talk again and see where job.com is in a few months' time. I'm sure it would have evolved even more, and see what you're looking at and what you're doing with your next chapter of your life. So yeah,
for sure. Well, there's some interesting stuff to come. There's interesting stuff to come.
I
so
know.
I'm looking forward to showing it. Yeah. So we'll leave that for the sequel, right?
That's for the sequel. Yeah, Arran Stewart, Mark 2. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been great speaking to you, Arran.
Thanks, Vicky.
And lovely talking to you. And we will talk again. So thank you so much. All right.
Thank you very much, Vicky.
Thank you.